Just act natural. Okay, is it just? Yes. So English 10 CT, we were looking for modifications, accommodations, or inclusive teaching practices. And I ran out of room. So.
I ran out of room too. Mine was so messy.
So we'll just start first. Start first, and I'm just going to record things you guys saw.
Should we just throw them out there?
Yep.
Tons of visual aids.
Oh, so much, yeah. Both physical and all over the walls. There were word walls, multiple word walls, key understandings at the front, like the purpose of cell division. In the back word wall, there was like there was a physical model of a cell over on the left. It's just everywhere. It's awesome.
And they interacted with them too.
Yeah, she used there was a word wall on the back, but also they had words up around the board. She would take it off, yeah.
And like a physical microscope.
Sorry, John.
Well, I was just gonna kind of piggyback off of they utilized them. It was not just to show like, oh, this is a noun, but from an English perspective, they were also talking about ones that demonstrated action, so they were digging into different parts of language, which I thought was really useful as they were explaining what they were looking for. They weren't just looking for the circles, they were looking for the little fingers, right? And that he made a point of spending about 3 minutes on that and getting someone to come up and try and interact with the visual so that he could point out the differences they were looking for.
In the beginning, they did a lot of like the call and response, especially with like directions, and so I thought that was
Your
great.
turn.
Yeah, like they would say it, and they'd have everyone else say it. And
I really like the back and forth. I read and then choral reading. I never even thought about that, but that's such a non-threatening way to practice.
Also the highlighted portions of the text they were reading kind of gives a little bit of a visual cue of what to do.
And it was purposeful because they were supposed to underline the parts that she highlighted, right? So they were also interacting with their text, but it was really guided, the highlighting. Yeah, that was really well thought out.
That brings me to the second question. Am I able to?
Yeah, we can
Okay.
jump back and forth, that's fine.
I was wondering what the different highlighting colors represented. Because at first I thought it was based on paragraphing, but one of the paragraphs had multiple colors. So I don't know if that was something they pre-established or if it was just to break up the monotony. of the
Is this a
color.
routine that they all know?
Yeah.
This is what, yeah.
Going back to the first question, this is one of the ones that Elizabeth said. He was using his hands a lot and motion and sound to kind of elaborate more on the
I love that. I love that.
That's how they sound.
also, it was great. They prompted them to use their home language, write some of our difficult new vocab down in their home language. So
I'm
they
trying
could
to
connect those.
incorporate
Yeah,
wizard and
incorporate it in.
Spanish.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that too, exactly. And so making that space for their home languages was nice, and giving them the tools that they would need to be successful.
And in a very targeted way to list out the main words, and then those are the ones that you should be trying to associate.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
I think this was a really good example of that warm demander type teacher that we talk about a lot, because they would cold call people and require the choral reading, and yet it felt super non-threatening, super comfortable, and they would guide, even when they were cold calling, would guide them if they were struggling.
Well, also, because at first I was ooh, he just cold called that kid. The answers were on the board too.
Yeah.
Pointed
So
to it,
I
and-
didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking down, I'm oh, I get it. That's awesome because it still felt like it was a big ask, but it was very supported.
Forces them to follow along.
Yes.
And he's clearly created such a culture of support, because even when that kid went to the board and didn't quite circle the right theme, there was no negative feedback at all. I don't think I didn't get the impression that he felt bad about getting something wrong, which I think just speaks to, like you said, the warm demander type of supportive atmosphere.
Well, even that student seemed excited.
Yeah.
Cause he was.
He's ready to go.
Oh,
Yeah, he
yeah.
was the one who was like, microscopes, let's go now. And I was sort of like, okay, well, but what are we doing though? And it was really
But
nice.
you're just like, do you wanna know what we're doing?
Yeah,
first?"
it was a very calm way of explaining, well, how about we figure out what our instructions are before we go?
That was really cool.
I thought it was a very sweet interaction. It was also embracing that enthusiasm for learning.
They were super eager to do the thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think they'd feel that way if, like you said, they didn't have that support.
Yeah, it felt like they were very safe to like take the risk.
And like I think there's obviously like a lot of empathy going on because like she puts this big block text up on the board and she's like, okay, I know this is a lot of words and it's like it's okay to feel overwhelmed, and she's like, we're gonna read this thing, but it's okay if it's a little intimidating, but we're still gonna do it.
What about other questions or things you wanted to know about?
I was curious if they ever group students by home language to.
Oh.
Yeah, I put small groups. Do they ever do one-on-ones or small groups? Because I was thinking for a little bit there, it looked like there's probably a pretty even divide of Spanish speaking and Arabic speaking, but I'm sure there were, you never know. There's probably also Portuguese and a gajillion other languages. So, and there are 2 instructors, so is there ever a benefit to like separating into groups and having some sister instructions with other languages present?
I was also wondering how like the tests look, because he was saying, referring to a test that they took like a week prior or so, and how that looks between languages, and if it's the similarities and differences, I guess, between languages.
A couple of people talked about this, but as we were exiting, they were going to the lab. I really wondered how that would look, because I imagine some things being easier. You have things you can manipulate, the reality that's kind of built into it. But then also, I just imagine not having taught biology, but like lots of procedural steps that are involved, and that part seems like it might be more complicated.
Right, and all the information about like safety. I mean, maybe not the onion cells, but does everyone understand not to mix these things?
It was interesting too to observe, like I guess this isn't precisely like the exact agenda we're talking about, but to observe overlapping students that you have in that environment and see like what is similar, what is different. I was just thinking about how like for our small group presentations for the research thing, like kids naturally that I have that are EL students want, even if they don't have the same first language, want to be together because they feel comfortable with that environment. And when I ask them like, who do you request to be in your group, it's almost always other EL students. It's like, if that makes sense, because you can feel that vibe in the room when you're there.
Anyone else?
I'm curious what they do as co-teachers to prepare such a balanced lesson. Because I routinely think, working with Sarah, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm like running the show, I need to back off, I need to provide more space for her to bring expertise in. It was a wonderful balance between the 2 of them and something that I aspire to.
They were great, yes, that was
Yeah.
a great partnership.
So I guess what is their, what does co-prep look like for them?
That's a good question.
Were we supposed to be circling the stuff on the front?
You could, or
Because
just write it on
they
the back.
Okay.
nailed way more than half. I was just circling stuff as I.
This was honestly because we weren't sure if people would know what we meant by accommodations.
Well, this was nice to have. I mean, they know that.
So you could certainly have circled those or just written them on the back, but they like hit so many of them. But this week has been awesome. watching you and your videos yesterday was awesome.
God, they're
We're at the
so
exact
cute.
same, we're at the exact same place in
Yeah.
Romeo and Juliet.
Really?
Yes,
Oh, it's
and we
wonderful.
read the exact same scene you guys did yesterday. It's like your kids are knocking it out of the park.
Well, and a lot of them are the same ones in Butler's class, so it was fun to go and see them. They're great kids.
Should I stop recording for you?
I think so.
It's your last chance.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of English 10 CC.
If you were my son, you'd be like, don't forget to hit